What's up, guys? Happy Friday. It's Friday? Wow. I don't know why my brain was thinking it's Thursday, but I should have known better. Happy Friday, March 31, 2023. Final day of the month, but the second day of the MLB regular season. Today's schedule is set up. I don't know if you guys catch this every year. They put all the teams a roof, so it's just a 5-game slate, and then tomorrow we're off to the races. Regular season, let's ride. So you got a taste of a big slate yesterday. You got a taste of every team, first look at every offense, and today we're gonna go back to several of those teams. A lot of these teams tonight were late night teams yesterday that weren't on the main slate. There's a few like the Marlins and the Mets that were, but if you only paid attention to the main slate, you get introduced to a couple new teams and hopefully have some fun. It is a weird spaced out slate. There's one game at 6:40 p.m. Eastern. Both Fanduel and DraftKings have opted to put that on their main slate, perhaps to not duel with the NBA lock, or to just give us another game to choose from. And then after that, the next game starts at 8:10 and then 9:40. So it's a really spaced out slate, and it gives you an opportunity to, if you only knew or we only get lineups from the first game, you can still go back in later and late swap. But most of the projected lineups should settle in close to what we will actually see, because it is still just game 2. Nobody needs rest yet or nothing like that. But how'd you guys do yesterday? How'd you enjoy opening day from a DFS standpoint, from a real life standpoint, from a player prop standpoint? I had an absolute blast. I mean, everything I could have asked for, I got as a just big Yankees fan. Getting the Aaron Judge bomb in the first inning in his first at bat, it was magic. Getting a clinic by Garrett Cole, magic. And then when Aaron Judge hit that homer, you know, it had time to reflect, because for 7 minutes over the offseason, we thought Aaron Judge was going to bat in the top of the first inning of that game, not the bottom. So, and then Anthony Volpe getting on in his first plate appearance, stealing a bag right away. It was just magic. And then to see, you know, everybody else get to have fun, sweat their teams on Twitter was a lot of fun. From a DFS standpoint, was on all of the right stuff. If you guys watched the opening day preview, my favorite stack, or if you are a subscriber yesterday, my highest owned stack was the Baltimore Orioles, and that paid off pretty well. Had a couple sweats for the big boy, the 100K to first, but didn't quite get up there. My top lineups were both Orioles stacks. Ended up running 4 3s because I didn't love how the 4 4s were filling out, but in retrospect, I should have just went 4-4 and let her rip. But yeah, this one was a 4-3 Baltimore-Boston with Byron Buxton in it. Gunnar Henderson was the only guy that didn't get in double digits, and this was one of the 65% of lineups that I ran that did not have Garrett Cole. So Garrett Cole was the dog last night to go get. Or if you didn't play him, Marcus Stroman was somebody to target, and I was never on him. I'm not going to pretend to be on him, but I did see, looking back at some of those games, he introduced a slurve, so might turn into a guy that early on in the season, a lot of people think of him as a pure contact ground ball pitcher, but now it does look like he has a strikeout pitch. So in 4 days, when it's his turn to throw again, we'll have to do some digging on that. But yeah, I enjoyed yesterday. I'm hoping tonight we can run it back with some success. Let's open up the RunDFS.com MLB VIP spreadsheet. Shout out to the live chat. What up, Absolute? What up, Nate D? What up, Jake? Mike Knack, Dang Lazy Mofo, Steve, Chester, Jay. MLB or NBA? If you could only watch one sport for the rest, it's MLB. It's not even close. Not even close. MLB to me is the most beautiful, majestic, amazing sport on the planet. Every pitch is a movie. It's truly a mixing pot of cultures. It's got so much beautiful history. It's just an incredible sport. No knock on the other two. Football I've fallen out of love with. Basketball's cool, but it just doesn't compare to baseball to me. What up, Pojen? Who's getting a hat trick tonight? Triple dong? I don't know. We might get a couple of those. Hey, we're gonna be using the MLB DFS.com VIP spreadsheet. You guys want it? Go ahead and grab a membership over at RunDFS.com. Grab a membership that's right for you. The MLB Season Pass covers all sports, but from a time frame, it's just easier to say that that's the MLB Season Pass. That's going to be good till October. I think it's October 1st. Comes with a $100 credit towards Fantasy Cruncher. Only $300 for that one. You can rebate that down basically to $200, and then of course you get our. I think you can get a month of football with that, and then the rest of basketball as well. And you unlock this spreadsheet, which I think this is the best tool out there to dumb down the MLB slates with a pulse of advanced metrics and kind of understand what's what. It's something I'm very proud of, and we're going to use this to go game by game here, peruse through the options tonight. We're going to be referring back to PrizePicks. Yesterday they did not bring back the home run triangle, so I guess that's just a thing that they're not going to do this season, which is unfortunate, but we can still bounce back and forth and look for a couple of wedges, ins and outs to get into. And it does look like them combining two different pitchers from two different games for, hey, they have one for strikeouts? Bro, they're killing me. Christian Javier and Robbie Ray, 11.5 strikeouts from two different games. That's interesting. I can get down with that. That's actually fun. They're shaking things up. I appreciate that. I appreciate shaking things up for baseball, but they keep springing these on me, and I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. You just sold me on MLB. The more I follow baseball, the more I get the ambiance. It's beautiful, man. It really is. It really is. I love it. And I love that everything has a history and a legacy behind it, right? And I know as a Yankee fan, you know, I'm spoiled with history, but man, I watched the Cardinals and Blue Jays game yesterday, and the Cardinals have a rich history, and you can see those fans, you know, love their Cardinals. And when Adam Wainwright sung the national anthem, it was like, wow, that's a moment that those people are going to remember, and Cardinals fans are going to remember. So I don't know, it's just fun stuff. But anyway, let's look at tonight's slate. Mets and Marlins, first game on the docket. So far, it's the only game where I've got confirmed lineups, and I think no other team has put any out. And we did get word that Lone Depot would be opening the roof. They did that yesterday, I think. So basically what that means is the top is off in Miami, which allows some of the sunlight and some of the wind to get into the stadium. So what's normally a pitcher's park, it's still going to lean pitcher friendly in the grand scheme of things, but in March, where cooler temps are around, and some of these parks on the slate tonight, I believe they're all maybe Minute Maid's a little bit more hitter friendly, but most of the parks are going to be neutral. Having, you know, close to 80-degree temperatures out there in Miami with two pitchers that can give up homers. I think Luzardo did a lot better last season, but two pitchers that can give up homers. That might fly a little bit better for us. Game total, giving us a 4.2 run total for the Mets, for the Marlins. We got David Peterson. We got Jesus Luzardo. 105.2 innings for David Peterson last season against righties, a 3.45 xFIP, 26.3% K rate. Against lefties, really good, under 3 xFIP with a 33% K rate. The walks have been an issue for him, almost a 10% walk rate to lefties and an 11% walk rate to righties. So not, you know, kind of, if you watched last night with Blake Snell, that's kind of what you're fearing with him. And then when he does allow contact to righties, he does have a 25.2% line drive rate and a 7.7% barrel rate. So that's not extremely high, but it is elevated and something that can get picked on. So a pitcher with a well above a 1 whip, 1.33 to be exact, certainly has some leaks to maybe see a path to get through. And I don't think that the plan was always for Peterson to pitch. I know Verlander got thrown on the IL, so I do wonder how stretched out Peterson is. He opens his number 5 starter. So I guess if he was going to be their number 5 starter, then he was relatively stretched out. It says Peterson Peterson secured the final spot in the Mets season opening rotation over Tyler Megill after both entered a competition for the role when Jose Quintana suffered a ribcage stress fracture in the spring that will keep him silent to blah 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 blah. All right, so
bing bang.
Bing bong.
Lazy Mofo super chatted $20. New place for gun. First day judge AHR on opening day. Congrats and Yair.
Let's go, baby. Appreciate that. Dang Lazy Mofo, that's love. What up, KJ? Most detailed DFS genius in the industry. I always win, man. I appreciate that. I love that. What up, Ariel? Thank you, Dang Lazy Mofo. Swanging the biggest D at the end of the month. So from a DFS standpoint, first of all, pitching is a much lighter today than it was yesterday, but I think the good pitchers, the great pitchers, do separate themselves. Christian Javier, probably pound for pound the best pitcher, 2.43 expected ERA, and then looking down at the list, I think there's going to be a little bit of interest in Dustin May and a little bit of interest in Robbie Ray, but looking at this game with Peterson and Luzardo, I don't think there's going to be a massive amount of interest in Peterson. With that said, there's a little bit of a strikeout lane in this lineup. Garrett Cooper, Jazz Chisholm, Jorge Soler, and Avi Garcia. But every single one of those guys are guys that I'm worried about making contact because they all have a collective 10+% average barrel rate. So it's not going to be a give me spot for him. And even Max Scherzer struggled a little bit yesterday, giving up 3 earnings to this squad here. So Peterson's going to be low on the list here. This is one of those wild slates where there's only going to be a few pitchers I wouldn't put in the player pool anyway, just because of the smaller range of outcomes on just 5-game slate. But I'm not that enthralled with him. On the Marlins side, Jesus Luzardo. So he was able to turn his season around last year versus the season prior. The 2 seasons prior, 4+ xFIP and a 5.2+ xFIP against righties, especially that big home run problem that he had in 2021. Able to bring that down a little bit, but the line drive rate stayed essentially the same. The ground ball rate did jump 6%, and the hard contact rate dropped 6%. And the swing and strike rate went back up to 14%. So big time strikeout potential here. Let me go pull up Luzardo's Fangraphs card, and I'm gonna look at a few factors here. First of all, the Mets. On the Mets side, not a ton of massive K rate guys, and there are a couple of lefty matchers like Eduardo Escobar and Pete Alonso are both getting 4+ ratings in the bomb detector. But I do want to look at Luzardo's end of season stretch last year. Never again am I not playing Cole going forward. Had a lot of exposure to Fried and Fried got injured. I mean, that's unfortunate. But Garrett Cole is Garrett Cole. I will say Garrett Cole was just on one yesterday. There's going to be games, and you know, the elements were in his favor too. 40-degree baseball, opening day. Garrett Cole was ready for that. But I wouldn't fall. And if you're newer to baseball, please don't be results oriented off of 1 day sample size. Garrett Cole is going to have those blow up games where he gives up home runs to who's that. But yesterday he was just sharp. But man, look at this. Just incredible swing and strike rate numbers. Only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That one don't even start about 4, less than 5 games last season with single digit swing and strike rates. That's really, really good. What do you do at home too? It's just nuts. So I do think there's love here for me for Jesus Luzardo. I do see a couple of leaks that scare me. The elevated line drive rate, but Luzardo's got to be on the list, right? He's got to be on the list for the pitcher pool. I think we start him off as a tier 3. Zeus. And the Mets have a couple of guys that I will just always play against left-handed pitching. Mentioned Eduardo Escobar, and this is a shame. They did this last year as well. Always at the top of the bomb detector for whenever the Mets are up against left-handed pitching, and it's just like they don't care that he could take advantage of the platoon. He is certainly one of those guys that splits way better against lefties, and being way down here in this order, there's a realistic range of outcomes that on first appearance, he might only get 2 hacks at Jesus Luzardo, so that's unfortunate. But looking at his splits from last year, whenever it loads. What up, Paul and Boats? What up, Mighty Saint? I think stolen bases we up at least for start of the season. I think stolen bases are going to be a big part of this season. I've seen sharp analysts project 20 to 30% increase in stolen bases. And I believe yesterday there was only 1 caught stealing, and I think it was Wilson Contreras. And then ironically, he took a Jordan Hicks fastball to the knee and had to leave the game. But yeah, there was a lot of aggressive base running yesterday, and that's going to be something that we have to adopt as DFS players, because we are pretty strong on power, and power is still going to be king. But I think small ball opportunity, especially on Fanduel where stolen bases, aren't they like 5-6 points, something like that? Guys that will nickel and dime and swipe a bag, that'll add up. And even if it's not just including that in your DFS projections, but also thinking about it from a PrizePicks standpoint, we looked at it yesterday. There's a lot of baseline projections for PrizePicks that have been anywhere from like 4.5 to 7.5. Well, these stolen base guys can clear that in one trip, right? Yeah, and still today, a lot of 6.5, 7s, 5.5. So maybe once we get like new Billy Hamilton type players, like Tim Anderson, for example, Christian Javier is a tough matchup. But if he gets on, he's a threat. He's a liability to swipe a bag, and a walk and a stolen base is going to clear that right away. So yeah, stolen bases is going to be a real part of baseball going forward. Anyway, last year, what we're looking at for Erod power wise, I guess, or Erod Eduardo Escobar, I guess his home runs were a little bit closer, but like 30 more at bats, 40 more at bats against righties. I don't know. I wish they would bat him higher in the order, because I do think he's a sneaky bomb opportunity against Luzardo. So I would get to a couple of Mets stacks, and this is going to be one of those scumbag slates where I probably have every stack, every pitcher to an extent. Maybe not every single pitcher, but close to it. But if I wanted to get to the Mets, Marte, Lindor, Alonso, Escobar would be guys that pop the most for me, especially the guys with lower strikeout rates. That's Lindor, Escobar, and then Luzardo is going to be in the mix as well. If I want to pick on Peterson, he does have a pretty decent ground ball rate against righties, 50%, when he isn't walking, or when he isn't striking you out, 250 plus average and 11% walk rate. So anytime you get a guy like that could put himself in a jam, and we're talking about stolen bases, Luis Ariz, Gene Segura, Jazz Chisholm, you're going to walk those guys will steal a bag on you as well. So I kind of like to play all 4 corners to an extent. If I had to rank it, I'd probably go Luzardo, Marlins, Mets, then Peterson. But I can create a path to every angle from this game, and the fact that we popped the roof open and we're enjoying 80-degree temperatures makes it that much more offensive friendly here. So that's the spin on this game. The books took down the stolen base props yesterday because they were getting cooked. Yeah, I think they're just gonna have to rethink the odds on them, because a lot of times you can get stolen bases at like plus 800, plus 900. I think you'll start seeing stolen bases at like plus 300, plus 400 for guys that actually go, right? 21 and 23 swipes yesterday. All 5 Oriole steals had no throw though. Yeah, and then I've looked it up in the past where, the catcher pop times or the catcher stolen, stuff like that. But because stolen bases were just kind of part of DFS and not like the number one focus, it hasn't been a big intensive part of the research. But now we might have to start considering a little bit more, because there are some catchers that I think is it Austin Nola from the Padres was like one of the worst at throwing out base runners. Like guys like that are gonna start getting exposed again, and pitchers that are slower to the plate, stuff like that. It's gonna start mattering a little bit more to try and sniff out some extra points from our runners. No Nimmo. Yeah, I mean leading off, sure. I think the entire Mets lineup is certainly in play, but just handpicking a few guys that I like the most, just specifically against lefties, sure. These are some of the teams that have to pitch on day 2. We saw a couple bullpens get, I'm gonna say exhausted, but yesterday, for example, Jordan Hicks, I think he had to throw like 30 pitches. That's certainly not the plan. What did the bullpens look like for the Marlins and the Mets yesterday? Let's go Control F. Marlins. We saw 37 pitches from Brazaban, so likely won't see him today. And then that gives us Dylan Floro, Daniel Castano, Matt Barnes. So a couple of righties could come out, and that could feed into the Brandon Nimmo love as well. And then on the Mets side, we saw Brooks Raley, David Robertson, former Yankee great Drew Smith. I can't talk today. And then a couple of righties. So, all right. Nothing major out of that. Everyone's probably available. What's up, Catelza? You're not super late. Just one game. What's up, Nate? What up, Sean? Hope y'all doing all right. Paul and Boats. I love that name, by the way. All right, now we move on to the 8:10 p.m. set here. So if you are double dipping tonight, playing some NBA, once this game locks, you can crunch your NBA stuff, and then you don't have to worry about baseball until like an hour after basketball locks, and then hopefully we'll have some more of these lineups confirmed. Maybe even get some of these lineups while we're on the air. Minute Maid Park, if you're looking at some sites that list the weather concerns, Minute Maid has a roof. I know Safeco has a roof. So don't be alarmed. Every team here should be all right. And I just think it's funny that they threw San Diego on here and never worried about weather. And then last night we had weather. We've got Lance Lynn up against Christian Javier. Implied run total for the White Sox 3.8, just 3.8. The Astros 4.4. So the White Sox, in the grand scheme of the slate, there are only the D-backs, the Rockies, and I guess the Guardians with lower run totals here, and anything under 4 is certainly something you take a look at. And the reason being is Christian Javier, pretty doggone good. But if we had to start picking and poking at Javier and figure out a range of outcomes, how does Christian Javier fail? Well, looking at his numbers last season, his biggest glaring problem, I guess, was his 4.07 xFIP to lefties. Now, that's not a terrible number. You know, that's a little bit from being 3.9 to being just fine. But just looking at this White Sox lineup, they could offer 1, 2, 3, 4 lefties that maybe could be scrappy. But no matter what, Javier just has the best overall metrics by far, I think, on this slate. The 2.43 expected ERA is immaculate. The 3.14 Sierra and the 33% K rate, pushing a 14% swing and strike rate. Just one of the best young pitchers in baseball. 8,200 is an egregious price for Javier here. So I fully expect Javier to come in as probably the highest owned pitcher on DraftKings, right? Javier appears to be next in line. He shouldn't have any problems pitching deep in the game after throwing 5.2 innings Saturday. So shouldn't be any concerns about pitch counts or anything like that. Only concern that you would have is, hey, the White Sox still have some talent, still have Tim Anderson, Luis Robert, guys like that, Yohan Moncada. It's still a good team, and they have good pieces, but just betting on talent, Javier looks like the best pitcher on the slate. So we're going to throw Javier into the tier 2. Probably has a chance of getting to tier 1 in the grand scheme of this slate. But yeah. What up, AOD? Love you too. What up, CEH? Hope you're doing all right. What up, Squats? Hope y'all doing all right. Shout out to you guys. Lance Lynn on the other side. Last season started off really rocky, then kind of found himself into being a formidable pitcher. He's somebody that I think we have to look at spring training numbers as well. So let's Google Lance Lynn spring training. and then just kind of tell the story of his season in 2022. Because when he first came back last year, I mean, he just had no whiff stuff at all, and then it started coming back to him. But if you don't remember Lance Lynn, he essentially is a 70-80% fastball guy, and that's it. Right, not much else. So looking at plate discipline for Lance Lynn in 2022, overall got to a 10.2%, and then is this broke down into, no, that's from June on. All right, let's go pull up spring training for Lance Lynn. 9 out of 13 lineup. 13 is kind of like an obscure number. I like it though. Hope these contests stay decent. I wish they would flatten out a little bit. Well, what are you gonna do? See what kind of spring Lance Lynn was working with. A Mamba here. Why they hate on Sean? I like Sean more than the other guy. I can't think of the other guy's name. We banned him around here. Sean has some hot takes and some stuff, a lot of stuff that I don't agree with. But he never come at you with disrespect. That other guy was extremely disrespectful while having extremely dumb takes, and that was just like a bad mix, you know. 4.2, 4 innings. Strikeouts have been there for him, so that's a good sign. No homers in spring, that's a good sign. And then 13 hits in 11.2 innings. 283 average allowed, but a 1.46 whip. 2 walks, 1 walk. Okay. So I'm not too scared of Lance Lynn, I guess. And the Astros run total is 4.4, which is, man, there's no 5 run totals today. That's interesting. Yordan Alvarez, the highest rating on the bomb detector. So we go look at the pitch report. If you guys aren't familiar with the pitch report, I guess I didn't really reference it a ton yesterday. But as I'm saying, Lance Lynn throws 60% fastballs going back to last season, and backs it up with a cutter at 28%. So essentially a 2-pitch pitcher. Does have a show me curveball, a show me changeup, but you could sit on 2 pitches and neither one of them are overwhelmingly high in velocity. So looking at the fastball, cutter, those 2 pitches specifically, Yordan Alvarez grades really well against both those pitches. So yeah, I do like Alvarez quite a bit. He would be somebody we're looking at early on to maybe be a dong candidate. Astros have to be on the stack list. I don't know how we're gonna rank this, because I do think this is gonna be kind of a boring pre-flop slate, and I do think at the end of the day I probably just stack every team. But if I was managing, 20 or less lineups where I had to sit on 4 or 5 teams, I think early on the Astros make a lot of sense. And looking at Lance Lynn's troubles last season, his biggest leaks were against left-handed hitting, 1.6 on the home run per 9, and then on the road a 1.3 home run per 9. So going against this Astros team, guys like Kyle Tucker and guys like Yordan Alvarez look like 2 of the better looks at for some power. Alvarez last year a 160 WRC plus against righties, and 144 on Kyle Tucker. So those are 2 names I would pull apart if we're managing a finite small amount of lineups. I think they have probably the best matchup here. And yeah, I don't think I want to pitch Lance Lynn much, but if this lineup does feature Jake Myers, Martin Maldonado, even Pena, like there are some strikeouts, but Lynn doesn't give me the warmer fuzzies in this spot, especially the fact that he's more expensive than Javier, who is probably the way better actual pitcher. So I'm gonna keep an eye on. When we get into that bomb detector, we can take a peek at it. I don't think I sorted it yet from throwing all these guys in here. At the top of we got some broken ratings at the top. Must be that's low sample size crap. Actual sample size: Mike Zunino, Eduardo Escobar, Yordan Alvarez, Pete Alonso. But I guess we got some pitchers that have really no sample in the big league, so it's breaking the bond detector, and we'll look at that and see exactly why that's happening. Moving on to the next game. So we've got a wait on a second thought. Based on what we said earlier, we're gonna get a steal detector. I used to have one, bro. I did, but it was like, if you think predicting home runs was wild, it was much harder to predict steals. I think right now for steals, you're just who's got a good hit for average matchup or against a pitcher that'll walk, and just about anybody can go. So maybe we'll formulate something on that. But yeah, that's a change. We saw a lot of slug brawls yesterday, and a lot of it involved stolen bases. Like we mentioned, Baltimore and Boston. Blue Jays and Cardinals had a shootout as well. Astros lineup is horrible. Nah, it's not that bad. I guess it is. Let's get some info on Yainer Diaz. They're down Altuve. He's gonna be out a little bit, but it is pretty concentrated on what, 4 guys: Alvarez, Tucker. Looking at this WRC plus, Bregman, Abreu. So this is your lane. And Jeremy Pena, I know his WRC plus is under 100, but as you saw in the playoffs, this man can play some ball, right? This is a lineup that has a better WRC pluses against lefties than righties, but this lane is still something to take note of. Let's go look at Diaz's minor league stuff, because I'm not that familiar with him, and he's in the middle of the projected order. What's up, Travis? Last year in the minors, Diaz batted .306, slugged .542, with almost a 900 OPS, 1.4 ground out to air out ratio. So ground ball hitter, and we saw ground ball hitters are not as irrelevant as they used to be with the new shift rules. What about his stolen base prowess? Last year against righties, 326 average, 908 OPS, 8 homers and 190 at bats. So for like a good power metric, 1 homer for like every 10 to 20. And then extra base hits, 12, 15, 23 extra base hits in those 190 at bats. So it's got a little pop to him. And then what kind of stolen bases? But we don't have any stolen base numbers. Alright. We go back to career. Is he 2? I mean, he doesn't look too bad, so don't leave him out of your stacks at almost min price on both sites. If he's in the heart of that lineup or right behind the heart of the lineup, I'm with it. All right, let's move on. Rockies at the Padres, 9:40 p.m. Eastern. So big time West Coast slate. Once you get past the first game and then the second game, it's all, man. Woohoo! Now I see what's happening. Kyle Freeland up against Nick and Nick Martinez on the bump for the Padres. 106.1 innings season, 174 innings for Kyle Freeland last year. So plenty of sample size. We know who Kyle Freeland is. He's somebody that is not that overwhelmingly good in or out of Coors. Out of Coors last season, a 4.27 xFIP, just under a 20% K rate, 257 average allowed. Did keep the ball on the ground more, but I guess there's a path where he can just kind of get through and not give up a ton of homers. And then another thing that we might be looking at is it is historically harder to steal off of a left-handed pitcher. I mean, and the theme of today seems to be stolen bases. Maybe that's something we got to think about going into some of these matchups early on to the season is what's the steal threat against the left-handed pitcher. So floating thoughts here. Generally, though, Kyle Freeland is not somebody that I think has a ton of upside, especially against such a menacing lineup with very low strikeout numbers overall. So I'm much more inclined to get to the Padres stack. Looking at the Padres run total, they are at 4.8, and I believe that is tops on this slate. So just based on that alone, we might expect them to garner the most ownership on this slate. Yeah, it looks like they will be the highest owned, but it's not egregiously separated in terms of ownership from like the Astros and the Dodgers. So it is what it is. You're likely going to start any good stack at like 20% on a slate like this because it's only 5 games. What are you going to do? So give me the Padres here for sure. Let's put the Padres in. And then specifically pinpointing a couple of Padres hitters. We've got Xander Bogaerts, who might lead off, 900 plus OPS against lefties last 2 years. Manny Machado, a 220 plus ISO against lefties. Nelson Cruz could be their DH. We didn't see a lot of pop from him last year. It's a fun name to click, but somebody that could maybe even get platooned out later in the game. I think Matt Carpenter and Nelson Cruz might be the team that tags each other in and out of these games. If they bring in a righty, and let me look at their bullpen. Rockies. All right. For some reason, the Rockies are not populating. All right. Well, this will fix that when we do. Stream is caching for me, man. That's rough. Yeah, the internet connection has been on and off today. More things change, the more they stay the same. How we looking now though, chat? Bart is out. All right. My bad on the stream. The trash shows. Thought the new shift rules would help ground ball hitters because the defense can't shift. Am I seeing this wrong? No, you're not. That's exactly what we're seeing. It'll help the overall averages go up, but especially ground ball hitters. Yeah, still got Spectrum. Spectrum still sucks, but hopefully it'll level out. And then Nick Martinez, not somebody I'm that enthralled with either. We saw the Rockies play spoiler against Blake Snell yesterday, and then into the bullpen a little bit. Just one of those nothing to lose teams. And as they're healthy, CJ Cron, 2 bombs yesterday. Chris Bryant, if he's healthy, he's great. Charlie Blackmon, we might see the shift help him out a little bit more. Kind of a Rizzo-esque boost. Ryan McMahon, another guy. So Nick Martinez is not home free either, but he does strike out lefties more than righties. 25.5% K rate last year to lefties, and minimize hard contact to both. Daza, Chris Bryant, CJ Cron, all going to project decent enough against that. So this is probably a spot where I don't really like either pitcher, and I'll just take some offenses here. So we'll add Rockies towards the bottom. Again, I think I'm going to end up stacking all of the teams. Jinxed it again. It went back down again. But I guess after the stream I'll try and hard reset. I don't know why it's doing that. I reset before we went live. See, I'm not getting drop noties on my OBS. I do apologize. When does Thor pitch or is he hurt? Everyone throws again. Yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna run a speed test to see. Upload is fine. It's also very windy and raining. All right, I'm assuming that we're good though. So let's move on to the next game. D-backs at the Dodgers. Merrill Kelly taking on Dustin May. You guys hear that? That is some hardcore rain. Merrill Kelly last year at 3.62 expected ERA, 401 Sierra, had better results than his advanced metrics suggested, 3.37 ERA. And then Dustin May on the bump, 3.67 expected ERA last season, a 4.21 Sierra, and a 4.5 ERA. Only went 30 innings, got hurt. I'm assuming that he's ready to go this season. He's one of those has talent, can he realize it type guys. SCA got upgraded to questionable. Yeah, I guess that would put a giddy triple-double bet at risk. 5.2 innings for May in his last start in spring. 6 hits in those innings, no walks, struck out 4. Bro, it is pouring. I mean, it is pouring out there. So if you guys lose me, it might actually be more weather related than technical related. So when we have seen May, his swing and strike rate is 12 to 14%. I do think that could be a little bit beneficial, or a number that could be benefiting from small sample. So let's go pull up Dustin May major league numbers, and then let's go look at his minor league numbers, just to kind of paint the overall picture of Carrot Top. So in his career, he does have more strikeouts than innings pitched, so he is a strikeout pitcher. 1.14 whip, and then last season, 21 innings in the minors, 36 strikeouts, huge. 2019 at 106, 110. So is a strikeout guy. And then in the majors, let's look at his plate discipline game log. Each game, high swing and strike rates. Arizona, the Giants, Padres twice. All right. And then batted ball. The xFIP against the Padres, as you might expect, they were good. Whew, you can smell the rain. 20 guys for NBA. That's crazy. All right, but May is going to make the tier 3 pitcher list for me. But I think this is a 4-corner spot. Dodgers are right up there with the Astros as one of the offenses I'm most likely to get to, just because they're so talented. And Merrill Kelly is somebody that should be experiencing tougher games. Last season, a 4.37 xFIP on the road, under 20% K rate, but a 215 average, a 130. Like, his results were a little bit better than the advanced metrics say that maybe they should be. What was his road BABIP on numbers like that, man? That looks like a 200, 210 BABIP type stuff. Let's pull up Merrill Kelly's card and look at his splits, and then we're gonna control F BABIP. And he had a 241 BABIP on the road last year, 1.1 whip, 215 average. 4.38 xFIP. What about his batted ball data? 44% fly ball rate, 10% home run to fly ball. That's about right. Oh, he had an 11% infield fly ball rate. That was helping. I was helping. Stack Dodgers. And then how would Dustin May fail here? Corbin Carroll, Ketel Marte. This is a pretty unremarkable team for power. Christian Walker, Corbin Carroll, the two guys to pay the most attention to. And Dustin May's ground ball rate really good. And then looking back at his minor league stuff, still more ground outs than air outs. So easy to not be that enthralled with the D-backs, but there's a couple guys here I can get behind. And Corbin Carroll and Ketel Marte would be the two that I'm most enamored with. And then if you're just looking for some power, I guess there was a little bit of a pop allowed to righties, but it's still leaning on a small sample. Let's split Mays. Power allowed in the minors. One bomb in 22. And 21, 10, 2, yeah. So any which way we look, we're just not dealing with deep sample size. So we're just gonna have to go with Dustin May. It looks like he can be good. The D-backs can be bad, and then go from there. And then we got one game left on the docket. Pause for the cause. This is one of the most intriguing games, I think. If you guys want to hang out for the rest of the night, we'll be in the Discord. We'll be in voice chat probably from 4 to 6, if not beyond. And then of course we'll have the player pool built out here, and then we'll also have NBA spreadsheet updated and built out as well. If you guys want to get in on that, go to rundfs.com, click VIP memberships, find a pass that's right for you. Or if you want to prop bet, baseball, basketball, whatever it is, PrizePicks, Underdog, No House Advantage, wherever you shop your props that aren't at sports books, you can use code GUNDACKER. They'll show me some love, and then you'll also be able to experience a first deposit bonus up to $100. So go take advantage of that. Main event tonight, Guardians at the Mariners. Hunter Gaddis taking on Robbie Ray. So Gaddis is the guy that's breaking the bomb detector right now because he only has 7.1 innings of sample size in the majors last season. Up against Robbie Ray, former Cy Young Award winner, who is one of those type of pitchers that is strikeout or homer essentially in the last couple years, especially against righties. And this is a very, very particular matchup because the Guardians are notorious for not striking out very much. And looking at this projected lineup against lefties, we've got 15% K rate for Stephen Kwan, sub 20 for Ahmed Rosario, J Ram, Josh Bell, both around 14 or less percent strikeout rate. So we do get to deal with if Robbie Ray can't strike him out, does he tap into that 9% walk rate? Does he tap into that 1.6 homer per nine? And it is a play both sides spot for me as well because he does have almost a 1 in 3, a 1 in 2.8 strikeout rate. And then we get to a Guardians offense that were shut out yesterday. That could tap into Ray's weaknesses. So Hunter Gaddis, obviously I don't expect this guy to be their day 2 pitcher if he's not good. 7 innings, anything could happen. So let's go look at his minor league stuff. I'm sure he's good. Last season, an 18.4 or no, that's in the majors. Last season, a 4.01 ERA, 121 innings pitched, 158 strikeouts. I mean, that is huge. That is a big time strikeout potential pitcher. Looking at his splits from last season, lefties and righties, 46 innings pitched against righties, 64 strikeouts, 210 average allowed, a 0.38 ground out to air out ratio. So it looks like he is a fly ball pitcher. And then against lefties, 29.2 innings against lefties, 38 strikeouts, 0.4 ground out there. So he's still a fly ball pitcher. He had a 1.52 whip against lefties. So did walks play? 17 walks in 29 innings. And let's see if that's always been a problem. Let's go to 2021. $45 innings in 2021. 13 walks, 70 strikeouts, and then 57 strikeouts, 51 innings to righties with 15 walks. So it does look like he has some command issues. What's the pitch report got on him? Fastball, slider, curveball, change. Has a good pitch mix. Interesting. There's a good lane of strikeouts here. Teoscar Hernandez, Cal Raleigh, Eugenio Suarez, Jared Kelnick, all probably an average of 30% K rate apiece. Very low hit for average. So at 5K, I guess there's merit to playing both sides here. And you said he was good in spring, huh? The White Sox in Houston, yeah, that'll do it. 5 bombs against the White Sox. What happened there? So because of that, that is breaking the spreadsheet. Let's go Hunter Gaddis, spring training. 17K. Yeah, the strikeouts have been there for sure. I wonder if, I mean, doesn't seem to be a velo guy. What a wow. Let's go spring training. We gotta look at some props too. Maybe we can get behind a couple of check. Oh, it's check. Yo, check the gambler. Whip of 1 in spring. That's pretty good. Where did he play? See, some of these teams might have got siphoned from the World Baseball Classic. Rangers suck. White Sox. I think Luis Robert was in the WBC. I don't know if he was like, I don't know who he was up against. I mean, but no matter what, no matter which way we slice it, the guy has strikeout stuff. And also what we discovered yesterday is Game Tracker and spring training just came up with some wonky numbers in terms of what number of pitches pitched. But yeah, 13 strikeouts, 11 innings with a 109 whip. Still a fly ball pitcher. And no homers allowed. Man, I wish we had batted ball data from the minors. Are Ray and Javier top 2 pitchers tonight? For me, Javier would be 1. Ray's one of those, I would do the opposite of the ownership, guys. Just because he's that volatile. But looking at ownership, Robbie Ray is number 2, second to Javier in ownership. And it's hard to be that opposite because of how shallow the pitching pool is tonight. I guess what's the ownership on the Guardians? But yes, Javier and Ray have to be 1 and 2 in terms of upside. I think there's a case for Jesus Luzardo to be above Ray, because this is not a big strikeout spot for Ray. Like Mike Zunino is a big strikeout guy, but he's also number 1 on the bomb detector because when he does make contact, it's crazy. 20% barrel rate. I mean, it's nuts, right? So this is an extremely pesky Guardians lineup. So I wouldn't be like that excited to play Ray here, but Javier is certainly my vote for being number 1. Here, what up, Vic? Hope you're doing all right. So let's fill that out a little bit. Let's put Robbie Ray here. So if I had to manage 20 lineups, I would probably build around these 4 pitchers. And then, man, what 5? I guess this is too chalky. But I would definitely want to have Guardian stacks against Ray. That's an extremely good leverage spot. And I don't know what to do with Hunter Gaddis. I guess at 5K, I mean, that's a bat, right? If he gives you a home run, generally, you take that. And then you could basically play anyone you wanted. Let's see. Would Javier Gaddis give you? And Javier is just free. Like 8,200 should not. That's just wrong. So if you went Javier Gaddis, you get 46 per. I mean, you find one 2K guy. We mentioned that Astros guy. What's his name? Was it Diaz? Yeah, he was pretty good in the minors, and you can put him in, and he's a catcher. And now you get almost 5K per. So if your favorite stacks are like the Dodgers and Padres, I mean, boom, you're in there, right? I don't know why Javier is so cheap. That's unfortunate. Too crazy to like the Marlins and a sneak attack or mini stack? No. I don't think it's crazy at all. Mentioned David Peterson. Similar to Blake Snell. I think Blake Snell is obviously way better, but he could walk guys, right? 11% walk rate, and we've talked about the new stolen base stuff. Arise, Gene Segura, like Josh Chisholm. You walk those guys, they're gonna run on you, and that's gonna mess with a pitcher's mental and create opportunities for him to get dinged up. And the roof is open, so I think it's okay to target this game. But I'm especially fine with the Marlins stack. Absolutely. Diaz isn't in lineup. I don't think we have a confirmed lineup, but let's see. Or do we have a confirmed lineup? We have a White Sox lineup. Actually, we have a couple lineups that came out. You're right. Diaz isn't in the lineup. Those came out. All right. So we got Pena, Bregman, Jordan. Jordan's batting in the first inning, boys. Let's get those lineups typed in. Let's see if anything changes, huh? Breggy, Alvarez, Abreu, Tucker. Who's batting sixth? Jokes. Who the is Jokes? 2K special. Corey Jokes. All right, let's go. Let's get some homework done. When we do that, let's get this typed out. Nobody. Jokes is a righty. Bro, the bottom of this Astros lineup is real. Who is that? And it becomes pretty righty heavy too, with Alvarez and Tucker being the lone lefties here, huh? Jokes last season in the minors, 270 average, 854 OPS, 31 bombs, okay. 22 stolen bases. That could play. Let's isolate those splits to righties. Can barely hear you, and my volume's all the way up. Anybody else having that problem? I feel like an hour in, somebody else would have said that. How do the Mets have 6 outfielders? Against righties, 284 average last season with 24 bombs, almost a 900 OPS. So he is kind of a reverse splits hitter, huh? And then he can steal a bag. So okay, another cheapie that can touch the heart of the order. What else did we get? We got the White Sox lineup. Tim Anderson, Luis Robert, Benintendi, Eloy Jimenez, Yohan Moncada, Gavin Sheets batting 6th. Yasmani Grandal, Oscar Colas, and Elvis Andrews. And then we had another team throw out a lineup. The D-backs threw out their lineup. Corbin or Josh Rojas is leading off. That is not Corbin Carroll. Ketel Marte, Lord Escorial. So it's a little different than the projected. Christian Walker, Corbin Carroll, Gabriel Moreno, Jake McCarthy, Alec Thomas, Geraldo Perdomo. We'll green like that. That's a good way to tackle showdown for baseball. It's going to involve candles, prayer, and a strong relationship with God. No, baseball showdowns are oof. For which site? So I think they stopped letting you do bullpen arms. Generally, a pitcher is going to have the highest floor to ceiling ratio. If you get the double dong, baseball showdowns are wild. Could be a little bit louder. All right, what I can do is make my music lower. Thoughts on Vargas and Outman as cheap plays? Makes him with a Dodger stack. So Outman homered last night. His big league sample is a little unsustainable, but we'll see what his minor league stuff is about. And who was the other one? Vargas, Miguel Vargas. So we have more sample on Miguel Vargas than Outman. I think I'd rather play Outman, but if those two are just like, a way for you to correlate, sure. In the minors, 263 on Outman, 860 OPS, essentially 79 bombs. Let's see, can we forget it? No, Vic. I would encourage you to learn how to play the main slate first before you play the showdown, because the showdown is extremely volatile. But if you can get a showdown where the game actually has a good pitcher, then I would captain the pitcher. But there are some of these showdowns that are featuring West Coast teams, and maybe not tonight, but like, I don't know, if Nick Martinez versus Kyle Freeland was the game, like, I wouldn't be that excited to put either one of those guys in my captain spot, if that makes sense. So every game is a little bit different. And then I want the guy, it's just like basketball. I want the highest upside in my captain spot. Anyway. Outman. 304 average to righties last season in the minors. Almost a 1. OPS with 13 bombs in 194 at-bats. So Outman is definitely the guy that in that mix I would want. And Min Price, he has so much upside, and we saw it last night as well, where he hit homered late into the game. Kelly's not a guy that gives up a ton of homers, but it's not zero. MLB Showdown, slate by slate. Yeah, it's every slate is different. All right, let's take a peek at PrizePicks. If you guys have any like questions, comments, concerns, blah 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 blah, throw them at me. We'll look at it. Take a peek at strikeout props. So Peterson and Luzardo is at 10.5. I like that you can combine pitchers. And then Javier and Robbie Ray is 11.5. So Robbie Ray, like I said, is at risk of getting beat up, but to be able to combine these strikeout props is fun. They only have Luzardo at 5 though, so if I wanted this, I would just take Luzardo's 5. Seems nice. No, let me look at this matchup. Almost 30% K rate. I think I would take that 5, just betting on Luzardo, unless there's like a restriction that I don't know about. It seems Gave 4 hits and a walk over 4 scoreless innings while striking out 5 Wednesdays. He was in the WBC. That's one that I would kind of like. Jesus Luzardo over 5Ks. So I guess they're taxing you when they put them together. So that's 10, but they give you a hook as a tax if you put them together. So that's fair. Freeland 3.5Ks. Christian Javier at 6. I could probably get behind that. I mean, a 40% K rate to righties. It's pretty nutty. They do have a lower overall strikeout rate than I thought. But talent, I always take the talent of the pitcher over the hitter. 5.5 is your prop for Dustin May. That makes me feel better for DFS. And then Merrill Kelly's at 4. Robbie Ray's at 5.5. That's crazy to see. You usually see Robbie Ray at like 6.5, 7, but could just be because it's his first appearance. But it's a really pesky Guardians lineup. All right, with that said, let's go look at hitter points and cross-reference the bomb detector. Unfortunately, I think I'm gonna have to take out the low sample ones and we'll just load up on the big ones. So Nino is going to be a hard sell because of his strikeout rate. Escobar at bottom of the order. I would say Alvarez. I probably want Alvarez fantasy points if that's offered. 7.5 or 1.5 hits and RBIs. But both of those are good bets. Or good ways to attack the home run, I guess. So we'll go Jordan Alvarez over 7.5 FPS or 1.5 hits, R's, RBIs. That's unique. It's essentially a home run. But an RBI single could get you there as well. So maybe the hits RBIs is a better click, huh? Lance Lynn ultimate leverage versus Houston, or can you play both SP in that game? I think you could play Lance Lynn. It wouldn't be fun, but there is strikeout potential in him. You're just really sweating. For me, it's Bregman, Alvarez, Tucker, Abreu to an extent. But certainly, I mean, I don't know. WRC plus is well above 100 for half of the lineup. But just from a, could you play him? Yeah. He would probably be 5th on my list of pitchers I want to play. Javier, Luzardo, May, Robbie Ray, and then it would probably be Lance Lynn. Leverage would really come down to ownership. And I guess Houston's up there in ownership. Not far behind the Padres. Not far at all. So it is technically a leverage play, yeah. But not one that I have the warm and fuzzies on. Who else is in the bomb detector we might get some points on? Pete Alonso against Luzardo. Then Mookie, I can get behind Mookie if he's leading off tonight. I mean, that's just a lot of at-bats for a really talented offense. So if we can get his fantasy score 6.5 or 7.5, I'd be in. 7. I'd probably take Mookie fantasy. We'll go Mookie bets over 7 FPS, assuming he leads off. Anyone else here? I want to take a shot on a Marlin or two to draw a walk against David Peterson and steal. Gene Segura is so goddamn swing happy that I hate to. I don't know. Doesn't he have one of the highest swing rates, or was that a couple years ago? Let's see what kind of walk. How about DK tiers for baseball? So I'll have to refresh what tiers looks like for baseball. But if it's like football, I would still correlate them. So you can touch hitters unless they put all the hitters in the same team in the same category. Segura drew 9 walks last season, 103 at bats. So that's not bad. That's under 10%, a little under 10%. So maybe he's one of those guys that I would look at to draw a walk and swipe a bag. Got gunned down 6 times. Listen here, Gene. Listen here. He can walk lefties too. I don't know. I feel like I want to get behind some of these Marlins. These teams like the Marlins, the Orioles, they have less to lose because of who they are. I think those are teams we're going to see be really aggressive on the bases. D-backs, teams like that. Let's go Marlins. Chisholm's at 5.5 fantasy. As the cleanup guy. I know he doesn't hit lefties well. But man, 5.5 is really low. I think I'm going to add that to the list. What's up, Hugo? Tiers identify as they, them. 28.5 fantasy for Lizardo. Interesting. Let me pull up tiers for you, Vic. Since I kind of shrugged off your showdown question, I do want to look at tiers. Have you tried to play the main slates yet, Vic? I know you're one of our community members that is newer to baseball. Let's see. They have a $5 knuckleball. Let's open that up and see what we're working with. When it loads, yeah, that Chisholm one seems really low. So Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, J-Ram, Yordan Alvarez. So this is a really competitive one. I like Yordan a lot in his spot. It would be one of my looks for homer today. J-Ram, we talked about Robbie Ray struggling against, or when Robbie Ray isn't striking out people, he does allow power to the right side of the plate. And Jose Ramirez is one of those guys that's just super talented. He's also one of those guys that will steal a bag. Where's that? Oh, that's the last game. It's the one game. And an 812 OPS against lefties, 210 ISO, 3.87 rating on the bottom sector. So it looks like they've done their due diligence of putting good plays together, at least in tier 1. Tier 2, J-Rod, Machado, Pete Alonso, Marte, Teoscar, and Kyle Tucker, Bregman. So you could still kind of correlate, but they also do a good job of putting teammates in this together. Like there's 2 Padres, 2 Rockies. But you could still get away with correlating. So I would probably, and this would just be a guess, I would probably try and string together correlated lineups and just see how that goes, because correlation has been king in baseball. So I know Yordan we like, and then we can put him with Kyle Tucker, and then Pete Alonso. Can he touch? I guess you could put Machado with Xander or Soto. Xander against lefties, so you can still get away with that. And then looking at these last 2 tiers and thinking back, you could put Escobar kind of with Pete Alonso, but they don't really touch. So my knee-jerk reaction would be to still correlate, but understand that I don't really play tiers like that. And I could certainly see a path where it's way more random than anything, because each tier does have a couple of boppers, and you could just be home run hunting. But that's how I would try it, just to give you my perspective. Or you can use tiers to hedge your main slate. I did yesterday. Did you get my tweet? You played the main slate yesterday? You tweeted at me? How'd that go for you? And like I said yesterday, even if you had success yesterday, but especially if you had failure, understand there's so much variance in baseball that you don't want to be... Don't let that set the tone for your opinion on the sport. But if you listen to the podcast for opening day, we were pretty good. Especially the fact that the Orioles were my favorite stack. So, but again, there's gonna be days where my favorite stack drops a 0. You know what I mean? I hate Javier, so I'll have a Chicago stack. On these small slates, if you are looking to get into Max Center, but even 50 lineups, these are the fun slates because you can essentially get every combo and have a little bit of fun. My first couple baseball binks were like 5-game slates where I can mix and match and hedge and stuff like that, so you can still play ownerships, but you can have essentially every combo that makes sense. So if you get bored one of these nights, it doesn't have to be tonight because this one is pretty spread out. But if you get bored and you see a 5-game late slate or something like that, jump in a quarter arcade and play with it. Test it out. And see what I mean, where you can just have fun watching baseball because you have something of everything going. But if you do that, make sure you are cognitive of ownerships because you want your leverage to still have leverage, if that makes sense. David Peterson is a strikeout pitcher, and most of these Miami bats have 27% or higher K rates versus lefties. He's also a guy that can walk. But you said 27% or higher? I have half of it, but the other half it doesn't strike out at all. And then some of these 25%ers are guys like Jorge Soler that is pretty scary to make contact with, and Avi Garcia. You go into about the games or what? Chubb, we already did every game. What are you saying? 2 goose eggs still cash this thing launcher. Yeah. I don't think it's off base to have some Peterson exposure either, but I'd more likely get into Luzardo. But I think at 6.6K, if you thought 15 was enough, I think there's a path to that. But I could also paint the picture of how he fails, and that's walking hitters who's in a strike zone, and guys like Segura, Chisholm, guys like that can swipe bags. Did you send me your lineup, Vic? I could take a look at it. I'm looking through my. You gotta understand, I was in Yankee mode yesterday, so Twitter might have been. Oh, did you DM it? Oh, wow, there you are. Yeah, you're in my others. So, I don't know, it won't load. Yeah, it's not loaded on my phone, but I'll look at it. But last time I played Peterson was the game where he walked every Cubs batter. Oh my God, I remember that, and I also played him that game. Because remember, the Cubs have been one of the weaker matchups all for the last couple of years, especially when hunting strikeouts. I have played Peterson in some bad spots. That's why maybe I'm a little stove is hot, don't touch it. But I'll at least concede that he does have strikeout potential. And it's a good whiff stuff, but the whip scares me. The whip is very dangerous with the new stolen base mantra. MLB is the best sport to start learning how to max center. Yeah, I agree. Because you have more time to make your lineups, and you're not going to get bombshelled 5 minutes before a lock because a high usage guy gets rolled out or something like that. So I 100% agree with that, Willie K. Also would say don't force yourself to make 150. Try making 50. You know, you can 20 is fine too. But I think my first couple baseball banks were off of 50 lineups. There's nobody talking about Nelson Cruz like LeBron and Brady. Dude is the GOAT. Ask the Texas Rangers fans. Have we got any of those in chat? What do you guys think about Nelson Cruz? Yeah, his slider's nuts. Let's see. What does slider grade out as? Slider was barely above average and yeah. Got those strikes though. How did the Marlins rank against the slider? Jazz Chisholm, huh? Jazz Chisholm, huh? Man, Nelson Cruz last season. I got love for Nelly Cruz, and I think he's we should cherish him and appreciate him while we have him. But obviously, last season we saw a lot of regression versus the season prior. Anyway, chat, is that it? Anything else? You guys want to hit that thumbs up for me? That'd be great. If you're lurking, you like the baseball stuff, hit that sub button. So one of the things I had asked on the opening stream was, what kind of time frame you guys want this baseball content? You prefer it to be midday live, night before? And I got mixed results. What is Saturday slate looking like? MLB schedule. I do like having an active midday chat and then having some lineups to react to and then having more stuff on the PrizePicks board. But baseball, man, so Saturday is a day slate. Do we come back tonight and break down tomorrow's slate? One thing you can almost expect I'll never do is wake up at 8 in the morning to live stream. Just being honest. Looks like tomorrow's slate's a lot like yesterday, timing wise. Astros have to play early. Night before with an update the next day. Saturday and Sunday are going to be early. So maybe we'll be a little bit flexible early on if you guys will work with me. Because I'm thinking if we're going to break down these slates, need some more soak time. So we might jump on the airwaves tonight to break down tomorrow. And then we might jump on the airwaves tomorrow night to break down Sunday. When does it start to get normal? Monday a little bit. Looks like we're getting normal 7 p.m. games. So maybe then we'll go back to the afternoons for a little bit. But then Wednesday, it's all over the place, y'all. Let's just be flexible to start the season till we get a set schedule, I guess. Thursday's the same thing. Get a 3:12 start time. What even is that? Please come back tonight. All right, we'll try and come back tonight. Do you think Yasmani Grandal is back to being good? I hope so, but I don't know. White Sox have been one of those Padres teams where you feel like they should be better than they are, especially last year where they had some pitching, they had some offense, and it just never came through. And Grandal is one of those guys that you want to see be good for them to be good. Still had a plus a really good WRC plus last year against righties, but yeah. All right, if you guys got anything else for me, twitter.com/gundecker. I got to go update the NBA spreadsheet for tonight, and then we'll get the baseball stuff updated as we go. Come hang out in the Discord, rundfs.com, click VIP memberships. Love to have you. I'll be in the voice chat for the next couple hours if you want to hang out, talk some more stuff, talk some strategy, talk some lineups, stuff like that. We'll be back in it. Minute Maid's closing the roof. That's good to know. Gary Sanchez minors deal with the Giants. Ooh, poor Gary.